I'm Erik Wait, and I want to thank you very much for joining me for another whiskey study. February 2019, we've been doing Islay month, and we started off in Ardbeg, then went to Lagavulin, Laphroaig, Bowmore, and now we're in Bruichladdich. Bruichladdich produces several different whiskeys, including an unpeated whiskey. They do the Port Charlotte, they do the Octomore, and they also produce a gin called the Botanist. This is a bottle that I brought back from Islay when I visited the distillery. This is the Port Charlotte 2007 cc 01 heavily peated Islay single malt. However, it says heavily peated, but they've got one that even goes higher than that, and that's the Octomore, and I'll be reviewing an Octomore 8.1 shortly. I've already did a live stream with it with Keith from Malted Man Cave. But before I get into this whiskey, here are my notes. The Port Charlotte 2007 cc 01 heavily peated Islay single malt whiskey was originally released for the travel retail market in the first half of 2016. Port Charlotte 2007 cc 01 is a peated expression from the Bruichladdich distillery, which has been fully matured in the finest French oak, Quercus robur, cask that previously contained an eau de vie from the Western Cognac region. It is bottled at 57.8% alcohol by volume. All right, as you saw there in the notes, this whiskey has spent some time in a cognac cask. Cognac is northeast of Bordeaux. Cognac is a brandy made from primarily Ony Blanc, Follet Blanc, and Colombard. Southeast of Bordeaux is the Armagnac region, which produces a very similar brandy. One of the things in my studies that I'm always curious about in terms of whiskeys that have spent some time in a wine cask or in a brandy cask, which is a distilled wine, is can I pick up notes or indicators from the whiskey that it spent some time, or do I recognize, hey, this has spent some time in a wine cask, this has spent some time in a brandy cask? Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. I've had some bourbons that were finished in a port cask and definitely picked up those port notes. I've had a number of different whiskeys which were spent some time in Pedro Jimenez or Oloroso or this heavily sherry cask, and those you definitely recognize that. This one, I would say not so much. If I was being blinded on this, I would not recognize that it was Armagnac. Sometimes though, color-wise, you can see it has a wine influence to it. This is a nice dark golden in color. However, usually wine casks, I would see a little bit of a red in it. So it doesn't look like it's spent any time in a wine cask. And that's because it was distilled. It's a brandy. This is an unbelievably complex whiskey that I find challenging nailing down particular descriptors, because as soon as I think I've identified an aroma or flavor, it switches and then there's something else. And as soon as I think I've nailed that one, it switches again and again and again and again. Really, really complex. Lots of layers to it. I get everything from canned peach, canned pear to almost like an apple pie with a little bit of cinnamon to it. But I also get some creme brulee, you know, that hard crust you get on a creme brulee, because they have that sort of sugar top, and then they flame it, you know, and you get that sort of little bit of smoke with a little bit of sweetness to it, or that nice crisp, you know, topping that you sort of break through with your spoon. Love that in a creme brulee. I get that as well, but it's got a lot of vanilla as well. It has a little bit of almost like just a hint of banana pudding. It has a hint of nuttiness, but it's a nut out of like a Snickers bar. It's not smoky like you think of Laphroaig, Lagavulin, or Ardbeg. It's not like a campfire smoke. It's more like baked goods type of smoke. It has a little bit of saltiness to it. Nice spice. There is almost like a paprika or barbecue potato chip note to it, but I'm talking minuscule. These are all proximities. They're not exact descriptors. Some caramels. Maybe even some dried yellow floral notes. There's an element that I like to describe as the interiors of a candy bar. Now you can have dark chocolate, you can have milk chocolate, but I've also had lighter chocolates, almost like a tan colored chocolate, kind of getting that as well. It has a real nice sweetness on the nose. All right, on the palate. This is a delicious whiskey. All the descriptors I just laid out in aromas are also picked up on the palate, but these are all close approximations. It's not exact. Everything's by analogy. Sometimes in describing a wine or whiskey, the aromas are exact. A Cabernet Sauvignon tastes like and smells like black currants. A Sauvignon Blanc reminds you of grapefruit, and if it's from New Zealand, it'll remind you of kiwi. You know, they're really close to what you're describing. These descriptors are all close approximations. They're not exact. Something similar to a canned stone fruit, maybe canned peaches, canned pears. There's something similar to a honey character. There's something similar to a creme brulee, that sort of toasted vanilla. There's something similar to a slight nuttiness. There's something similar to a drier, leafy, light tobacco character to it. There's something similar to a lighter chocolate. You have your dark chocolates, you've got bitter baking chocolates, you've got milk chocolates, and then there's even, I've had a lighter chocolate, almost like into a white chocolate character to it. Now, again, as I said, all these descriptors are proximities, and this whiskey, the aromas and flavors, they change. It's like boom, boom, boom. As soon as you think you've nailed something, it's moved on to something else. It starts off sweet, finishes dry, nice long finish. Some whiskeys have they have a development like this. They start like this, there's a peak, and then they kind of go like this. This whiskey, it's changing. Boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom. It is really complex. I love this whiskey. This is one that I brought back from Islay during my trip in 2018. And I brought back two of them, and I'm glad I did, because we did get to taste this one at the distillery. When you go to distilleries, they will sell core range whiskeys. You always want to keep an eye out for and look for distillery only exclusives. If they don't explicitly state this is a distillery exclusive, ask, hey, do you have any distillery exclusive bottlings? And that's what I did when I went to Bruichladdich after we did the tour. What would I give this as a score? I'm going to give this a solid 93 points. This is, if you can get on the secondary market, you're probably going to pay a lot for it. If you're going to Islay and you can bring stuff home, highly recommend jumping on a bottle of this. This is absolutely superb. All right, if you subscribe to this channel, I want to thank you very much. If you haven't yet subscribed, would you like watching my videos? I would greatly appreciate it if you would subscribe, give it a thumbs up, share this with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, and other social networking channels. Until next time, cheers. Hey, if you like my review, be sure to check out these other whiskey videos.